Welcome to Marathon Champions, the podcast where running legends Benji Durden, Bill Rodgers, and Ron Tabb share their timeless wisdom on marathon training and inspire listeners with their wealth of experience. These champions continue to impact the running world today.
So, Dick, where you are up in near Bemidji, when I was a kid, I used to go camping and fishing. And when I did the podcast with you, we talked about this.
Yes.
But, yeah, I used to go up there with my grandparents camping and fishing, and off of Leech Lake.
You bet.
And this is actually, as a result, that's how I got into running. It's strange, but because I played football in high school, and my grandparents took their vacation late in the summer, I ended up missing the football camp. So I ended up not going out for football that year, and I got put in a PE class. And in the PE class, they had a half-mile cross-country run that we did. And that's how, so had it not been for my trip up to Bemidji, I would have never become a runner.
Isn't it amazing how certain things in our life that happen really dictate what we do for the rest of our lives? You get to that intersection, and if you take a right or a left, you just never know how your life is going to go. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. But Benji and Bill, you guys ought to get up there sometime. It's a beautiful part of the country. It's absolutely.
I've been up there. I actually ran a marathon up in his neighborhood. I ran the Pablo Nurmi marathon that.
Oh, you did, Benji?
Yeah, not as an elite runner. I ran it as we were doing the 50 states thing.
Oh yeah.
And I ran it during that pursuit.
Well, and Bill, so when we brought Bill up for actually, Bill was the only runner we ever brought up twice to our Dick Beardsley races in Detroit Lakes. It's a small town not too far from Bemidji. And Bill came up, and Bill, remember we went out fishing and we caught a bunch of fish.
Absolutely. It was that secret pond.
That was
fantastic. That was the best bass fishing I ever did.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun and stuff. So yeah, it'd be fun to get all you guys up here sometime. Honestly, you would absolutely love it, and I know most of you are still run a little bit anyhow, and we got great trails around here in the forest and stuff you can run on, and the fishing,
the snowmobile trails that are running trails in the summer.
Oh yeah, we've got over 400 lakes within 25-mile radius of Bemidji, so there's lots of water up here.
Yeah, can you tell us about your and Jill's your home kind of there, and how guests can come in and stay and go running, fishing, your site,
Yeah, absolutely, Bill. So we, I think it's 9 years now. We've owned, we bought a bed and breakfast here in Bemidji. My wife, Jill, it's always been something she's always wanted to do. And we looked at it, when it came up for sale many years ago. And at the time, we just financially, we weren't able to swing it. And the owners at the time, they sold it to somebody else. And Jill was just heartbroken. And so we went and visited with the new owners, and they said, "Oh, you're the Beardsleys. You're the ones that want to buy this place." And they said, "Our plan is to stay here for 5 years." And then they were moving back to North Carolina. And they said, "We'll give you the first option." And so we just started saving up our pennies, and it all worked out. So, and it was called Kama Villa or something like that. I told Jill, I said, we're renaming this thing. I said, we got beautiful Lake Bemidji that the inn overlooks. I said, let's call it Lake Bemidji Bed and Breakfast. And listen, my wife, Jill, she gets all the credit for the way it's set up, the beautiful shrubbery and lawn that we have in the summertime, during the summer season. Like I tell people, I'm her Sherpa. I shovel the snow in the winter and I mow the yard in the summertime. She does everything else. So she loves doing it, and it's a great place to come and relax. And she makes unbelievable desserts, and that she always has out. And then of course she makes these gourmet breakfasts, which are just to die for.
Well, Dick, you've had a huge impact, I think, on Minnesotan people and Minnesota runners' lives, but also throughout the sport, I think. And I just think it's kind of cool how you've also got your race, I think September 6th this year.
Yeah.
And I remember running, I think I ran the half one year and the 5K one other year, but I just want to recommend to any listeners there to give this race a shot. It was pretty flat course around a beautiful lake and it's
Yeah,
really
well, I appreciate that, Bill. And when me and a couple buddies, they called me one day and said, "Hey, Beards, can you meet us down at the tavern on the lake?" And I said, "Sure." So we had lunch down there, and they're going, "Yeah, we're thinking about maybe putting on a race after after Labor Day, after our busy tourist season is done, just to kind of promote the area." And I go, "Well, that's a great idea." And they said, "Yeah, we're trying to think of some names." So I'm coming up with all these different names about all the lakes in the area, and the one buddy of mine, Mark Fritz, he says, "Well, gee, we're kind of thinking about calling it the Dick Beardsley Half Marathon." And I said, "Well, I mean, if you think it might help, that you got my blessings." Well, the first year we had maybe 100 runners, and now none of us ever thought it would last more than maybe 2, 3 times. Now next fall will be our 30th running of our Dick Beardsley Half Marathon, and we get a couple thousand runners, which is saying a lot because we're 4 hours or a little more than that from down in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area, so we don't have a huge population to choose from, but we get a lot of people that come back every year, and again, I get way too much credit for it because it's got my name on it. Seriously, I show up on the day before. I take some sponsors out fishing. I do a little talk at the pasta dinner that night. I show up, excuse me, I show up and run one of the events the next day, and then that's it. Everybody else does all the work.
it's pretty cool, I think. And Benji and Ron and I we don't have a race like that, but
Well, I don't have a race that's actually my race, but there's the Durden Invitational. It's a
oh,
cross
Now, what's
country
that,
meet.
Benji?
It's a cross country, high school cross country meet. And it's not because of me being a good runner. It's because Amy and I were the timers for that race for so many years.
I'll be darned.
And in many ways, it's more honoring Amy than it is me because Amy was the primary, you know, I was the technical guy. I got all the equipment set up and got it all working right, and she did most of the grunt work during the race.
Wow. But
But
what
yeah,
I think is so neat about the four of us guys is so we're all 40 plus years beyond when we were in our prime, but we're still all involved with the sport in some way or another, which I think is pretty gosh dang cool.
yep, it is. I mean, I know that Bjorklund, when he finished, basically he said he wasn't running anymore. He was done with
And he
it,
didn't.
and he didn't.
No.
who's
And
that, Benji?
Gary
Gary
Bjorklund.
Bjorklund,
Oh, Gary, yeah.
I mean, I see him every now and then. He lives,
Oh,
up
right.
in Fort Collins area, and you can tell that
Oh,
he
yeah.
doesn't run anymore.
No, you're right.
He
But
was a super
and there's
guy.
a lot of our peers, that was they were good at it. That's why they did it, but they didn't enjoy it that much.
No. Well,
I saw Sensuitz, Matt's dad, Sensuitz Senior, who was on the 80 team with me. I saw him this weekend, and I was asking him, does he run anymore? He said, no, I don't like running. I got to
I
get a foot
know.
every day, but I don't like running.
Well, Benji, and Bill was probably there when Coach Squires had his 80th birthday party. It was at Boston College, I think, and Jill and I flew out for it. And I think we all Bill said a few things. Alberto sent a video, and I got up and said a few things about Coach. And then afterwards, there was a little reception. Thank goodness we had name tags on because some of the guys that we used to compete against,
Yeah.
holy cow! Let's just say they go to the buffet line every day, if you know what I
Yeah.
mean.
And even though, I work at trying to get myself in shape, I'm still a good 10 plus pounds over where I was.
Oh yeah, me
And
too.
I mean, it's life is like that. So I can't give them grief for it.
No,
And,
and I don't mean that in a negative way at
no,
all.
I know you don't.
But so, like you said, I remember when I retired from that high competitive level that we used to all run and race and train at. I remember a lot of people saying, "Well, you'll probably quit running, or you'll never run another race again because you won't be able to get back to those times. And that never bothered me. I mean, even when I got into my 40s, I kind of got back into it a little bit, running as a master and stuff like that. And now you guys, when I run now, seriously, if I ran any slower, I'd be going backwards. But I still look.
I bet I can beat you there.
Oh, Benji, I don't know. Most of my runs, of course, I haven't been able to run the last 3 months because of my knee. But even before that, a good day, I might run 10 and a half minutes. Most of my runs are 11, 12-minute pace, but it doesn't bother me. I love just being out there.
Right now, 11 to 12-minute pace is a good effort for me because with the chemo, my blood work is
right. Oh, I can't even imagine.
And if I hit a hill, I'm 17-minute pace immediately.
But Benji, the fact that you're still getting out there on a regular
what
basis,
else am I going to do?
I know,
that's my life.
But going through chemo, a lot of people would feel sorry for themselves and lay on the couch. But I admire that you still get out there on some days when I'm sure you're not feeling real good.
Actually, the strange things about this chemo is that I have 2 or 3 days where I feel a little more fatigued than normal. And I have a little bit of brain fog, but I don't ever really feel bad. I've never been nauseous.
Wow.
They said I was going to lose my hair, so I shaved it all down, and it has all grown back. I lost my hair. It just hasn't been that bad for me. And and it's working. I mean, the tumor's down. It was a small tumor to begin with. It was 2.5 centimeters by 2.5 centimeters down to 1.5 by 1.1. So,
awesome.
It's shrinking. Yeah. And it's just really, I know people talk about how, amazed they are, but it hasn't been that amazing. It's just.
Well, I think Benji and Dick, Ron, we were all lucky to find a way into the sport and a way to keep going. Benji, you were a timer, and Annie, you helped her explore the sport of marathoning. Dick, you became this phenomenal speaker, maybe the best speaker amongst all those marathoners, and because your experiences, played such a role in that, and you're such a down-to-earth person and everything. And Ron, you're a coach. So and for me, I'm not sure what I am.
You're a spokesman.
Bill, you're the ambassador.
Ambassador, absolutely.
You're the diplomat from the world into sport.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've done a number of appearances with Bill over the years, and seriously, when they announce Bill's there, I'll be sitting right next to him, and I feel like I just want to go under the table because the line, I might have one person I'm talking to. Bill's got a line stretched down, the aisleways quite a bit, and that's one thing with Bill. He hasn't changed a bit. He's just still that happy-go-lucky guy, and he'll stay till the last person, wants to talk to him. So that's pretty cool. So
Bill, you got to do something all three of us would love to have done, and that's to compete in the Olympics and hold the American record at one time in the marathon. So
no kidding.
Yeah, I mean, if we would all give it up for that. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your contribution, trust me, it has been huge.
It's beyond huge.
Yes.
And we're all lucky, I think, that we can still stay involved in the sport. Dick and I go out to the Oklahoma City Memorial Marathon a lot of years. And Dick, I think you're going back. I hope
that. Yeah, the 25th annual coming up, Bill.
And I wish Benji and Ron, you would come up too. We got to talk to race instructors, Dick.
It's like the last Sunday in April or something like that.
Yes, but it's a phenomenal race, and they started an event last year, Dick, that you and I and Benji and Ron we could fit into. It's the seniors 5K, and it's it was really fascinating. They had 1,000 people.
Wow,
over the age of 65 or 70, and they were there. They were giving huge cheers for their groups, and it was really cool.
And maybe I'll be running by then, hopefully.
Yes, maybe what we can come up with is a design for Depends. I mean, we're kind of getting to that age.
Good idea.
Yeah, it is fun.
Yeah, sub 4 Depends.
Yeah,
I love it.
Sub 4 5K Depends.
Oh, mercy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's hard to believe. I can't believe where did the last 40 years? It just went by so fast.
Yeah.
Doesn't it though? I
Yeah.
know.
Time flies when you're having life.
Yeah,
Yeah,
doesn't
no
it though?
kidding.
And I remember my dad always telling me and saying, "Oh, the older I get, the quicker time goes." And boy, isn't that the truth, you guys?
That's
Yeah.
way too true.
Man.
That's why it's fun to get together, I think,
Yeah. That's one of the highlights of doing these
I
things.
mean, we were the first running boom. Now maybe
I
we're on the
know.
third one.
Yeah, well, and it's changed so much since we were back at that high level, now with all the money out there now and these super shoes and all this stuff, and then, you know, women running sub 2:10 for the marathon. It's just like,
Nick,
what's going on?
What are your thoughts? Do you think that's for real? I
Bill, again, I've always been one that, you're innocent until proven guilty, but listen, to and nothing against the gals, believe me, their improvement's been off the charts, but to have a gal run 209 and change, there's very few guys on if you look at the vast world of running that can even come close to that. And yet, I don't know, it's a little suspicious to me. And and not saying she was doping up or anything, but so many of these athletes now got these pharmacists and scientists that can come up with some masking agent that isn't banned, and they seem to be in one step
ahead of.
yeah. And here's what they should do. They get caught, they give them a 2-4 year ban. What they should do is just say, here's the deal. If your A and B sample come back positive for, you're using some type of enhancement drugs, whatever, you're banned for life.
Yeah.
That might
Well,
stop some of this.
Yeah, no. I mean, so let's say you're somebody like her, and she runs this time and she makes a whole ton of money. If she never
Right.
runs another step, she made a ton of money.
Yeah, you're right, Benji. And I think that's part of it. I think is some of these athletes look at, well, it's worth the risk.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And
Absolutely.
now in her case, she's working with an agent, has had several
Yes.
positives, and the agent is part of the problem, but they don't really get penalized. The coaches don't
I
get
know.
penalized. So it's not the athletes. I can understand somebody, that when one race and her extended family is set for life. I can understand the motivation. But these agents, they don't have any risk.
No.
They don't have any risk.
You're
So
right, Benji. We need Subco and World Athletics to step up. And they are trying to do more and more, I think. And 100 Kenyans, for example, have been caught.
Right.
But it's a terrible problem for the majors, now that we have 7 majors.
Right.
I think almost everyone, believe, feels the same, that there needs to be more enforcement. For example, I saw that a great American 1,500-meter runner, Rowley, she won.
Yeah, she's moved up. She's just shy of a medal now.
No,
Oh,
she got bronze.
Oh,
And
okay, it was a silver she's just
later,
shy of.
Benji,
Yeah.
12 years later, because a doper finally got
yeah, there's like
kicked out.
5 women got banned out of that race.
isn't that? And here's what it's done, you guys. It has brought our sport down into the sewers. I mean, now anybody, man or woman, that runs a fast time, first thing is, oh, they must be doping. It's not good for our sport. I'm telling you.
And
But Dick and Benji, don't you think that the general population of runners have no idea what's going on?
Well,
Absolutely.
There's a huge number of runners that don't have any idea who the 4 of us are.
Right.
So
we don't cheat. We didn't
but
cheat.
that's not
No.
what I'm trying to say, Billy. A lot of the people that run are unaware of elite running altogether.
Yes.
They have no clue about elite running. They don't know. I mean, they think that, sub 4-minute miles are running a marathon. It's.
Benji, don't you think, and Ron and Dick, when before certain athletes came into the sport and ran these phenomenal times, and some of it was acceptable because the shoes are certainly acceptable, I think, most of them. And but the doping issue is not, and it never
Oh
has
no.
been.
But the
It,
thing is, Bill, it's been going on even from our
Oh,
days.
right, right.
We didn't know about it.
years.
We were unaware of it, but
Do
it's
you
been
think it's
going on since
because
back then.
do you think it's because there's not what I'm trying to say is I think back in our day there was more reporting of the sport because Americans were right up the top.
Well,
You know,
there was that, certainly that was a part of it. Um, you know, it all sport was it spread out. The wide world of sports had, coverage of all kinds of different sport.
Right.
But now we've gotten down to where we have the major market sports: football, basketball, baseball, and hockey,
Yep.
and a little bit of tennis. And everything else is just sort of ignored unless you're, one of the ESPN, specialty sports like
Right.
this
cornhole.
is
I mean, you
global
can make
sport,
more money
Casey.
at cornhole.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, and some guy won a darts contest and made more
Yeah.
money than
And
we
it's
made in our
and,
careers.
and it's televised on national television.
Yeah, it is just,
Oh,
So in
it's,
some ways our sport has not moved ahead.
no, it
It's the
has not.
reporting
No,
and
and I don't, and
media.
drugs are certainly part of the issue, but it's also marketing. I don't know that we've got any decent marketers in our sporting world anymore. And the television executives think we're boring, which I don't think so, but
I don't either.
who
I
am I?
think
What
this
do I
sport is,
know?
but Benji, Dick, Ron, this sport is booming all over the world.
Yes
54,000.
and no. It's booming in participants.
Right.
Yes,
Participants are huge.
yes.
The
That's
competition level isn't booming. It's getting better than it was like 10 years ago, but booming is probably not the word I would use. And part of that is also it's getting harder and harder to get into the Olympics or the World Championships because the standards are becoming
Right.
more and more stringent.
unbelievable.
Yeah,
It
There's
really
nothing wrong with
is.
that system.
and that also has a little bit to, drugs are a little bit of the problem there because,
Yes.
a clean athlete has a lot tougher time making it to those standards.
Right.
Um, they've got a standard for the world. I mean, for the marathon next time around, we don't have any Americans currently racing that have reached that standard. We've only had a couple ever reach
What
that
is the new
standard.
standard going to be, Benji? Do you know?
206.30, I think.
Are you have to run
Yeah.
that to run in the Olympics?
To run in to make it by time. What they're doing is they're pushing participation more in their events, the major events that the
Yeah.
World Athletics recognizes. So you get in by points as opposed to get in by time. But if you want to get in by time, you got to run sub 206.30.
So will we even have a U.S. Olympic marathon trials in 2028? I mean, why
It's
would
hard
we
to
need
say.
to?
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
Part of the problem is, does anybody want to bid? Because it's a very expensive process,
Right.
and the payback is sometimes hard to justify it, as well as that there is a push now to get out of the business of having trials and just select people based on performances in other races, which is what was happening just before 68 when the
Right.
trials began.
Ugh.
Benji and Dick, Ron, we've talked about the serious stuff, but Dick, you are a master of storytelling, and I love some of your stories. Can you tell us that great story about the time you went to a road race at nighttime and in Minnesota? And do you know the story
No, I'm trying to think, Billa.
where you went to the wrong house?
Oh, yes. So, okay. So, um, this is many years ago. There was a race in a little town called Grantsburg, Wisconsin, which is a little town of 1,200 people in northwest Wisconsin, and it's all Norwegian. And my grandma came to the U.S. from Norway, so I got a lot of Norwegian in me. And they've been trying to get me to come to their race. They put on a race called the 17. Mai, and the 17. Mai is the Norwegian Independence Day, and it's always around the 17th or so of May. Well, they've been trying to get me to come there for years, and it just never worked out. Finally, I said, listen, it'll work this year, but I'm not going to be able to get into town till like midnight the night before. They said, not a problem. They go, you can stay at a volunteer's home. They're going to be gone, but they'll they gave me directions, and they said they'll leave the side door open and a light on in the kitchen for you. I said, great. So anyhow, I pull into this little town of Grantsburg, Wisconsin around midnight. And so again, there was no Google Maps or anything like this. So I pull up my little notes I had written down. And so I'm driving down this little road and on the edge of town, and I'm thinking, well, I gotta be getting close. And I look and I see this little house with the light on in the kitchen. So I pull into the driveway and I get out and I go over to the side door, and they said they were going to leave it unlocked. So sure enough, they did. So I thought, this is it. So I went back and I grabbed my bag, and I go into I get into the kitchen where the little light was on. And they said, in my notes, it said I could have the first bedroom, off the kitchen.
Oh, God.
So I walk into this, at this point now it's pretty much dark in there, except for the little light in the kitchen. And I walk and I can see the door to the bedroom open up. So I drop my bag, and honest to goodness, I get buck naked. I'm so tired. I'm in my birthday suit. And so I walk into the bedroom, and I'm kind of feeling for the bed. I finally feel it, and I reach up and I grab the covers, and I pull them back. And now I've been, traveling for a few hours. And so, when you first get into bed and you do that big stretch and you kick your legs out and the arms out to the side. So I slide into this bed, and I get this big stretch, and I feel a human body on my left, and some old lady starts screaming. So I jump out of bed, buck naked. I grab my bag. I get into my truck. I'm driving down Main Street, Grantsburg, Wisconsin at 12:30 in the morning, buck naked. And I get to the edge of town, and I pulled off on a side road. And I got dressed. I thought, well, I'll just sleep in my truck. So the next morning, I get up, and I'm thinking, oh, everybody's going to be excited that I'm here. And I put my running stuff on, and I jog into town, and nobody's like talking about Beardsley being at the race. They're all talking about some guy that slipped into bed with Gladys Peterson last night. Gladys was 88 years old, and I fessed up and I met her. She was the nicest lady, and I remember, she's been long gone now, but I'll never forget. She says, Dick, you can sleep in my bed anytime you want.
Oh,
God,
man.
I'll never forget that. Oh my goodness, that was something. Yeah,
I love that
You're
story.
lucky you didn't get shot.
yeah.
You're darn right. I'm lucky I didn't get shot. Or could you imagine if I got pulled over through downtown, this little
And that's
town,
the other thing.
buck naked in my truck?
There was a lot of luck involved in this one. Some bad luck at the beginning, but it followed with some good luck.
I guess
Man.
so. But anyhow, it was all good. So, well, guys, listen, I got to go to physical therapy here.
Yep.
I could keep on chatting with you guys for the next hour or better.
Well, we should probably get together another time, but you go
Yeah,
get
we
your
ought to do
work
this one
done.
again. Yeah.
Yeah,
Get that
absolutely,
knee
guys.
stretched out.
You bet. Anytime, guys. It's always great talking to you. You're three of my favorite runners I've ever met in my life. So thanks for having me on. I sure appreciate it.
I'm glad to
Good
have
going,
you.
Dick.
All right. Take care, guys.
All right,
Thank you.
bye.
Take
Bye-bye.
take care.